Hi soulmates, welcome back to another beautiful tutorial. So in today's class I'm going to be teaching you how to cut and sew this trendy Bubu kaftan dress that's been trending. So I got another, so I decided to film the tutorial. So the back is a very deep V neckline, and with this bow you are seeing, and this is how the front is looking like. So it has this fake wet pocket and this beautiful design. So if this sounds like what you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned and watch to the end. Here are the two beautiful Ankara fabric we are going to be using for this tutorial. So for this yellow one is going to be serving as the main dress, and it is 3.5. So this red one we're going to be using for the neck facing and also for the bow at the back. So I'll go ahead and put this aside to start cutting with the main fabric. So I'll go ahead and open my fabric. As you can see, so I'll be explaining to you how to fold it. So this is the length of Ankara, which is 45 inches, right? And this side right here is the length of my 3.5 yards of Ankara fabric. So I'll go ahead now to enable me get the full length of my dress. I'm going to be folding that 3.5 yards into two, just as you can see me doing. So just go ahead and fold it into two. I have already folded it into two, just as you can see me illustrating. So the next thing now is to go ahead and fold into four, because you're going to be cutting the back and the front all together. So this is what you should have after folding. Can you see it is 4 pieces all together? So at the top of your fabric you're going to rule a straight line, which is going to be serving as the starting point and also your shoulder line. At this line right here, I will go in by a quarter of my shoulder measurement, which is 10.5. Then from there, I'll add my sleeve length, which is 13 inches. So that's okay for me. You can go ahead and increase your sleeve length if you want. So the next thing is to do our neckline. So for the neck width, I'll be using 4 inches. So for the front V neckline, I will do 7 inches. So because the back is deeper, I will go ahead and mark 10 inches. So for the back, you have the choice to make it more deeper, but I am okay with this one you see me here. So the next thing is to go ahead and connect it just as shown. Next is to get our shoulder slope. From the sleeve hem here, you're going to put your tape and come down by 1 inch. So you're going to mark 1 inch, 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Then after that, you're going to connect it back to the neckline in a slant form. Next is to get our sleeve opening. So at the shoulder slope here, I'm going to place my tape and come down by 12 inches, which is my client sleeve opening. But if you're on a small size, you can do 10 inches. 10 inches is okay for a small size person. Go ahead and extend my line just as you can see. So on that line now, I'm going to divide the highest round body measurement, which is the hip. So my client hip divided by 4 is 13.5. Then I'm going to be adding extra 4 inches for ease allowance because it's a free dress. So whatever I have here, I'm going to extend it all the way down to the full length of my dress. Next is to get the full length of my dress. So from the shoulder line here, I'm going to place my tape here and come down by 60 inches, which is the full length of my dress. Then I will also be adding 2 inches for folding allowance. And that will be all for the drafting. So the next thing is to cut it out. So you're going to start cutting from the front neck depth for now. So you're going to cut from the front, then reaching to the shoulder, you're going to add half an inch for the shoulder joining. So if you watch to this point, do not forget to hit on the like button on this video, drop me a sweet comment and also share. So reaching to the armhole, you are going to give that a slight curve, just a normal Bubu armhole curve. We are not cutting our dress just as you can see, right? So I'm going to remove one piece, which is going to be serving as the front part of our dress. So I'll go ahead and remove it just as you can see. Then I'm going to refold this one to cut the back neck depth. So to cut out a facing for the front piece, we are going to be using a different Ankara, just as you can see on the inspo. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric. So the width here is 12 inches on fold and the length is 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and bring in my front pieces, then I'm going to place it on top of each other just as shown. So make sure that the both center are well aligned. So after doing so, you're going to hold it down with your pins, but everything will align properly. So after holding it down with your pins, the next thing is to go ahead and trim off the neckline and also the shoulder line. So now to get the width of our facing, I'll be marking 5 inches all the way down, just as you can see me doing, but you can as well decide to make it more wider. I'll be connecting the both points together just as you can see me doing. Then after connecting it, I'll be cutting them up. So this is what you should have. Do not forget to chalk down the wrong side of your fabric so that you don't get confused while sewing. So this is what you should have after cutting. So I will also go ahead and cut facing for the back pieces also. We are going to start working on the front part of our dress. So we are going to turn the neckline with the facing. So I went ahead to iron interfacing on the facing and also fold 1/2 inch around the facing. For us to stitch it now, I'm going to be placing the wrong side of the fabric to the right side of the facing. So I'll go ahead and place it just as shown. Then I'm going to be stitching the neckline all around with just 1/2 inch. So go ahead and do so, then turn it to the right side and give it a good press. This is what you should have it looking like after stitching the neckline and turning it to the right side. The next thing is to take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to lay a hemming gum underneath, then top stitch on it. But before I do that, I've prepared my 2 wet pockets already, but I'm going to be using these pieces to illustrate on how I go about it. So you're going to cut out a pieces on fold. So the width I have here is 3.5 inches and the length of my wet pocket is 7.5 inches. So after doing so, you're going to stitch all around it, leaving 2 inches opening. So from that 2 inches, you're going to turn it to the right side and stitch on it, then give it. Here are my pockets to stitch it on my dress. From the shoulder line, I'm going to be taking out my shoulder joining allowance, which is 0.5 inches. So from that 0.5 inches, I'll come down by 18 inches. From the center front of my dress, I'll go in by 3.5 inches. So from that 3.5 inches, place your pocket in a slant form. Just tilt it small, just slightly, just as shown. So if you measure the down part of it, you should have about 6 inches. I'm going to top stitch on it all round because it's a false pocket, but you can decide to leave one place open. So the same thing you did on this side, you're going to repeat the same thing on the other side of your dress. I already top stitch on the wet pocket and also on the facing. Can you see how beautiful they are looking? So I'll put this aside for us to work on the back part of our dress. Here is the back part of our dress, and we're going to be stitching the neckline. I've went ahead to cut my facing with the same fabric, and the width of my facing here is 3.5 inches, and also went ahead to iron interfacing and also fold 1/2 inch. You're going to place the facing right side facing each other with the fashion fabric, just as you can see me doing. So after doing so, you can as well use your pin to hold it down. So you're going to stitch the neckline by 0.5 inches. Stitching, flip it and give it a good press, then top stitch on. This is what you should have after finishing up the back neckline. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to join the front and the back piece together. You're going to be placing the front and the back together just as you're going to be placing it right side facing each other, just the normal way we join our front piece and back piece. Next is to join the shoulder. So you're going to be stitching the shoulder by 1/2 inch, and you also repeat the same thing on this side too. So I'm done joining the shoulder, and as you can see right here, I've also went ahead to hem my sleeve. So the next thing is to go ahead and stitch the two sides of our dress. So you're going to take it from the sleeve all the way down. So whatever you did on this side, you're also going to repeat the same thing on this side. Then after that, I will also go ahead and fold the hem of my dress. I've joined the two sides and also hem the down part and give it a good press. This is how nice and beautiful our dress is looking. So the next thing now is to cut the bow at the back. I will go ahead and put this dress aside to cut our bow. So this is a pieces I've cut out for our bow. So the pieces is cut out on fold. You're going to cut it on fold. The white stuff you're seeing on my pieces is a hairstay, so I just ironed it on one side of it because it wasn't enough, but you can use a gum stay in your case. So the width I have here is 13 inches. So the length I have here is just 19 inches. Take it to my sewing machine and stitch this side, then I'll be back. So this is what I have after stitching. So the next thing is to close the two sides. So you're going to make sure that your stitches is on the middle part of your bow. Then you're going to open up your seam and give it a good press. Just open it just as you see me doing and give it a good press. Then after that, you're going to stitch up the two sides and leave 2 inches opening and turn it to the right side and give it a good press. So this is what I have after stitching and giving it a good press, as you can see. And you'll also be needing a pieces of fabric, a long strap that you're going to be using to hold the bow. So the width I have here is 2.5 inches on fold, then the length is 30 inches. You're going to stitch the side, turn it and give it a good press. So for me to pleat my bow, I'm going to measure out like this and get the middle point of my bow, then further go ahead to pleat it just as shown. Then after doing so, you're going to use this strap you see me holding. You're going to use it to guide it just the normal way we make our bow. Then at this point you can decide to make one of the strap longer, or you can make it equal at the hem. Then you're going to use your hand needle to hand stitch the bow very well. Then after that, we are going to be stitching it to the main dress. So you're going to place your bow and you place you see me pointing. I'll be using my needle and thread to tackle it down. So I'll first of all tackle the middle, the two side, and also repeat the same thing on the other side. So guys, if you learn one or two on this video, do not forget to give me a thumbs up and also share. Bye.